Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Black Tower Podcast, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am Andrew.
I'm Daniel.
I am moist.
Good God.
That was requested. I am Josh. You know me.
It was.
And my name is David. And I would just like to make mention there may be mild to minor spoilers during this podcast.
It is
Yay.
true. We're discussing some things. Y'all know how this goes.
Yeah.
We have things we discuss a lot.
Yeah. So, we have spoken about, I don't know, was it in the regular episode? I think it was when we talked about after Rosamund Pike was announced as Moraine.
It might have actually only been in the Patreon.
Might have only been in the Patreon thing.
But
yeah, that's right.
We might have ended up.
Ooh, sounds like some people need to subscribe to our Patreon.
Might have ended up getting
Um,
a couple into the actual episode.
Yeah, I actually can't remember. 'Cause I remember going on the whole spiel about how much I loved Rosamund Pike as Miranda Frost in Die Another Day.
Yes, no, that was definitely on an
Um,
actual episode. So yeah, we
She
did.
was really good.
Okay. Oh, yes. Miranda Frost is Bay. Bay number 2.
Bay 2. Welcome to Bay 2.
Yeah. Yeah. She doesn't beat Jessica Biel in the movie Stealth.
Wow.
Maybe
Wow,
she'll
that's
beat Jessica Biel as Moraine. Who knows?
Okay. You know what? As we
Look.
discussed in the pre-show, don't judge. It's cool. Everybody's got
Look,
their flavors.
Jessica Biel and Aircraft and Jamie Foxx in a fantastic movie.
I mean,
All right. You
I
can't
mean,
really beat it.
It definitely classifies as a movie.
You might be stretching on that one, too.
Don't hate.
So Andrew stands alone, but that's okay, Andrew. We still love you, and we don't judge you for your poor life choices.
Well, you know what?
I think it's a great way to blow
At least my mom liked me.
Now that we got that out of the way, tell them what we're talking about tonight, Andrew.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the casting news that came out. We wanted to finish our Great Captain series. Thanks again to Daniel and Josh for handling the surprise part 6 that some of you actually guessed was coming. So kudos to y'all. I've been too busy to go back and listen to it, but I will as soon as I get this one edited. Yeah, definitely, because I need to. Because Daniel, I'm sure, did an amazing job as he did the last time he edited an episode, as he did this last one. I am going to listen to it.
It was fun.
So,
I enjoyed it.
but we wanted to wait until after we finish that series to jump into anything else. Kind of one of those finish what you started before you move on to a new topic, and it also kind of gave time for anything else that was going to trickle out to kind of come out and that kind of a deal. So we'll start with the first one, which of course is Rosamund Pike. It was announced on June 19th by the Wheel of Time on Prime Twitter account as being cast as Moraine. So far, she's A-list, right?
She is, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
I know she's an Oscar-nominated actress.
Yeah,
so-
I mean,
And I mean,
I would
even
say,
if
yeah.
she wasn't before, she will be now. So
Oh yeah. So far, Rosamund Pike is the only, I guess, super well-known A-list actor or actress cast for the Wheel of Time.
correct.
And
She's also not
as all the websites-
significantly older than the other people have been cast, which does help. She's been in
yeah,
the business longer, but yeah, she is the only
Oh, yeah.
sort of like A-list actor. Everybody else is definitely a lot less well known.
which
yeah. So as far as Amazon and Sony and the Wrap.com and all the other websites that we know are wrong, she is going to be the main character for the TV series. I think they're just leaving out for maybe the first, maybe 2 books of the TV series. I don't see her being able to be considered the main character after the battle in fall.
I don't know that I don't even know that she's a main character before that. I just think she's a very pivotal character, a very influential.
All right,
character.
so
I mean,
so from
maybe if they
what
started
I
with
have
Newspring.
heard, and this so this is going to be interesting because this is not going to be a spoiler for the book. It very well may be for the first season of the show, the way that they're designing it, or at least the way that it has been touted, is that Rosamund Pike is actually going to be Moraine, the main character for the first season of the show, and that unlike the book, where it basically telegraphs who's the really important one of the three ta'veren who come out of Emond's Field,
Right.
you're not going to know which of them is the dragon until the end of season 1. Which, granted, in the books, you technically don't know either. Now, since most of, a not insignificant portion of the book is from Rand's perspective, it kind of, as I said, telegraphs that. But at the same time, I think that there is a way or ways to shoot it so that Moraine is the main character and everybody else just kind of seems like a secondary character until you reveal that Rand is the dragon. At that point, I think that it's going to shift.
Well, and that would make
Yeah, and I think if anyone paid attention to the community when the most recent casting news came out about the real main characters of the series, you would know just from the buzz in the community, because there was a lot of buzz about Rosamund Pike, and rightly deserved, but there was a lot more buzz about the recent. Now, to be fair, there was a lot more announced, but
well, and I think the people who are following that, because I still think a lot of people who are following the production of the TV show are people who are also book fans. I think there's a lot of people who are going to come into the pilot and go, "The hell is this? I don't know what this is." I mean, and for all we know, the pilot could be the entire, Beltane celebration and Emond's Field and leaving Emond's Field all in one episode.
Nope. That's not going to happen.
You hope that's
I
not going to
refuse.
happen.
Well,
but when you start talking about,
according to
sets
the
the bar too high
title
for a
of
first
the
episode.
pilot, and what is again sort of stated as what's going to be the pilot, they don't actually leave Emond's Field until like 4 episodes in.
no, okay, well that's fine.
So
That's good.
again, I'm not
to
saying
have that much
wouldn't
go
be
on in one episode
interesting.
sets the
I'm
bar
just
far
saying.
too high for the series. Can you imagine if the first episode is all of this character introduction, all of this exposition, and then a big action scene that spans 2 major areas of Emond's Field area, and them leaving where they came from? Like, to me, that would make the first episode feel very
Oh, yeah.
rushed.
It would.
I agree with you. I'm not
So-
saying
In
anything.
fact,
I'm just saying we need
think
to
that
they
they're
need to take
actually
the first
talking
episode.
about, or at least what I have heard as far as like what I can see as official stuff, not just like people throwing out ideas, but actual sort of from as official sources as currently exist, that they are actually not even really getting to Emond's Field right away. That there will actually be a portion of the first episode that is just Moraine and Lan and other things of Moraine and her interactions with other people.
So
Now,
maybe
it's possible that they
Newspring
might just
has-
go ahead and start in Emond's Field and then do those as flashbacks. But New Spring is actually supposed to be
Huh.
a strong influence on season 1.
Interesting.
I mean, something they could also do is when they reach Bear Lane,
Bear Lawn.
or Bear Lawn,
Lawn's a
sorry.
person.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah. You know what
They shouldn't reach Bear
meant what I
Lane
was
for a
saying.
number of seasons.
you meant what I was saying.
I mean,
When they reach Barrelon, the innkeeper there, of course, recognizes Moraine. So it's obviously into the route that Lan and she took to get to Emond's Field. So I think it'd be cool if it shows them going through those areas
Yeah.
to get to Emond's Field, and maybe that's the first half of the first episode, because I'm hoping for hour-long episodes, which I think it's going
that
to
would
be.
be the best.
I would feel it has a
Which I've actually
Game of Thrones feel.
heard that Right? No, that would be really cool.
Mhm.
It's also really interesting that this is not official sources. Let me be clear about that.
Right.
This is not. But I think it would be really cool if they actually started with basically a prologue, not Winter Dragon prologue, not Luz Theron prologue.
Don't you dare say that name again.
But with Moraine and the other accepted that is with her, with the Amerlin seat at the time
Ooh,
when
that would
she
be
has her
good.
foretelling
Hmm.
about the dragon. I think that would be so cool. I mean, granted, it would be so different. I mean, like, it is kind of a thing. I mean, like, again, this is the audience would know something that they don't find out in the books until far later. But at the same time, I think it would be a really cool start to the series.
That would be great.
Because again, it would just come out of
I don't know. I think that'd be
nowhere.
better saved as like a flashback for the end of the first book.
Well, it'd be a great way to introduce the concept, because a lot of people, because the people who know the series, know what happens all the way through. But for anyone who has no idea what they're watching, that would be a great way in the beginning, because without having that first chapter where Lustrin, goes insane, creates a mountain and kind of creates the prophecy that the rest of the book is based on, it would be a great way to focus on Moraine if she's going to be the main character for the first season before they kind of shift perspectives, is to do it from the Aes Sedai's perspective, and like how her past New Spring that took her on this journey that created this prophecy that they learned about, that created her path, that led her all the way to Emond's Field. That might be a kind of a great way to introduce that.
I agree.
And it'll be really
think it would
cool if so let's assume that, well, at whatever point the series transitions from one book to the next, if they had Rosamund Pike read off that introductory prophecy that we're greeted with whenever you're flipping through the start of the book.
Yeah, no, sorry. It still needs to be Cate Blanchett to me.
I was thinking it'd be cool
Actually.
because maybe not at first, not for the first one, but by the second one, everybody's gonna know it as the voice of Moraine.
Yeah, it's true.
And that would be something that would be incredibly, I think, awesome later on in the series.
Dude, I actually think that it would be great once she disappears. Like, because again, if she
Still have her
starts
reading
if
it?
she starts
Yes.
doing that at like
I
the
was
end of
just
the
gonna
first
say that.
season, and then she just literally sort of reads that for every single one, and then people are like, "Why is Moraine still fucking here? She's dead." Like,
Right?
I think that would actually,
Everybody's going to be like, well, it's just continuity.
yeah.
They felt bad for having her leave because everybody
And
loved
then,
it. They just wanted to stay consistent.
and
And then,
That's
bam.
a good idea.
This is one of those minor spoilers, but honestly, if you're reading the book, you kind of get a sense of stuff and things.
well, excuse me, I didn't even say anything.
I know.
I
I'm
just
saying
said
that right
that.
now.
It's not even really a minor.
Let's
spoiler.
face it, the people that have read to the point where Moraine takes a leave of absence unwillingly,
That's definitely mild.
you don't really, you don't really. I'm one of those people that I don't think you ever cast. Well, never mind, I can't say that because of who they cast for Ned Stark and killed his ass at the end of the first season, and I stopped watching for 2 years.
As soon as he was cast, he was a dead man, right? That's just the role he plays.
Yeah. So I was about to say, they don't kill off, well-known actors and actresses when they cast them that early, but
He might
I'd be
be the
dead wrong,
exception,
actually.
though.
Well, that was actually my favorite part about seeing that Sean Bean was playing Ned Stark, is that when they got to the execution scene in Game of Thrones, sorry, minor spoiler warning for Game of Thrones, but when they got to the execution scene in Game of Thrones, like everybody else I was watching with was like, no, they can't do it. And I was like, oh, he's dead. Oh, he is gonna die.
Well, and
Like,
and that was
if
the
it
thing
was
is-
anyone else, if this was Viggo Mortensen, if this was, Keanu Reeves, if this was anyone else, I'd be right there with you being like, yeah, no, they're not going to kill Ned Stark. But this is Sean Bean. Do you understand
you guys
that his
know,
entire purpose in life is to
Still-
play roles where he dies?
there was
still better than season 8.
I mean,
Yes,
yeah,
it was.
Still, The relationship between Ned Stark's head and the Headman's axe is still a better love story than Twilight.
There was on Twitter, on the Twitter of Time, Malkir's King, at Malkir's King, the gentleman who is.
But anyway, back to the lovely Miss Rosamund Pike until Josh rejoins because he just disappeared again. We've been having the craziest bout of technical difficulties this recording session, and so the first thing we do is bullshit for an hour, which our Patreons will be able to enjoy.
Indeed.
So, for those of you that were hearing Josh has been having the most difficulty staying in the call, or not the call, but the recording session. He's been fighting it on and for about the last hour and a half, over the last hour and a half, about 2 hours now. Jeez, 2 hours. So he's called it a night, and since the interwebs do not wish to cooperate. But anyway, so her feature film debut was, of course, Miranda Frost in the James Bond film Die Another Day in 2002. My favorite role that she has ever played. I love Miranda Frost. And she's been in a lot of different things. She played in Pride and Prejudice. She played in the Doom action flick from 2005, Fracture from 2007, and she played opposite Paul Giamatti in Barney's version in 2010. So she was like one of the leads in that. She was in Johnny English Reborn in 2011, which was a good one. She played Andromeda in Wrath of the Titans in 2012. That was another fantastic movie. And she was the female lead opposite Tom Cruise in Jack Reacher in 2012 as well. But I think the most recently known one is from her playing the title role in Gone Girl in 2014.
Correct. That's not the most recent one. That is the biggest, most recent one. She actually just came off of doing another project as well, which is not out yet. Because she finished filming for that one and then went straight to Prague to start filming for The Wheel of Time.
Yeah, but from Gone Girl, she was the only person in the film to get an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. She's also had nominations as Best Actress from the Screen Actors Guild, the Golden Globes, and BAFTA.
It is weird because, I was expecting a number of other people in Gone Girl to get that nomination. Ben Affleck especially probably should have gotten nominated for Best Actress, but, just really hard. Nothing?
Yeah.
All right, never mind.
No, I don't have anything. That went right over my head.
Okay, because you were like, she was the only one to get nominated for Best Actress, but like more than half the roles were male, so they were not eligible.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, yeah, fair enough. But she was their sole Academy Award nomination, and the nomination was for Best Actress. Correct. There, good call on the wording.
I am a pedantic motherfucker, so
yeah. Now, of course, everybody. This is an old and worn out topic now, because it was addressed for like 2-3 weeks, and still occasionally, and the random noob to the series that comes in or missed all the discussion about it. About Rosamund Pike is too tall at 5'8". Moiraine isn't that tall, and she isn't a blonde. And it's been taught. We're beating a dead horse at the point if we talk about it anymore. Hair can be dyed, and people can be made shorter CGI. Just watch the first Captain America movie. They got Chris Evans all buffed up before they started shooting, shot, and like, shit, we need to get all the scenes where he's scrawny and short. So they had to CGI him down. That's why his head looks so weird compared to his body.
Yep.
So they can do the same thing, and hopefully Moiraine's head doesn't look weird.
Indeed.
That's why I think people kind of overreacted, is because I think it was their exposure to these people for the first time, because a lot of them aren't instantly recognizable. So, if that's the only picture you have to go by, then you're going to kind of, you might immediately think, oh no, this doesn't look like the right person at all. Or you might think like different things, just like, how Perrin looked. But yeah, it's like once you get used to it and see their pictures and see what they might bring to the role, I think there's, I don't think there's anything really to worry about.
No, it's super true, and as we already said, I mean, I also think that it's an interesting thing to harp on when Moraine's height is not something that's actually talked about as being something that defines her. I mean, like, it is mentioned a few times, and therefore it is definitely something that exists. But at the same time, given that it doesn't actually seem like it's one of the things that makes Moraine who she is, why does who cares? She's not so like she's not 6 feet tall. She's definitely still shorter than all of the other characters who have been cast. Well, maybe not the other two girls, but every guy that's been cast. So it's not going to look out of place even if they don't do those camera tricks.
Yeah. hmm Yeah, it's not really the height thing that really I think is not going to be too much of an issue because there's too many camera tricks that can alter perspective. I mean, when you look at actors, like Lord of the Rings was like the best example. Like hobbits are supposed to be super short, and most of the actors are, pretty standard size. Like I'm trying to remember their names, but it's like height itself isn't going to be too much of an issue as far as I think the personality and the perspective, because especially during the first book, a lot of the main characters typically group up in pairs, so it's going to come really down to personality and just kind of how they interact with each other. And then I think more I guess just from the description in the books, from how they look, like how Naveen kind of pulls their hair, just kind of more their little personality quirks and kind of how they interpret them as they're acting it. Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think there's certain things that might stand out more. I think height's probably the least thing that would I think would concern, especially for Moraine's character, because her height's not that short. It's still how tall is Rosalind exactly?
Well, Maureen's supposed to be like 5'2",
Yeah, so it's not
5'4".
Yeah, Rosamund is 5'8".
So she's either 4 or 6 inches taller than what the
no,
character really should be, which is not
no, but as long
insignificant.
as the other characters are
But again, it is insignificant in the case of the fact that the height
Mhm.
I don't think is actually going to matter. So it doesn't matter how much taller than the actual like height of the character she is. But again, it's also a situation where I mean, they can go ahead and do those forced perspective things or camera tricks or whatever. I just don't think they need to.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, people need to remember this isn't just, you know, the Twitter that we all look at right now for news, and since Rafe turned over the mantle for Wheel of Time Wednesdays, which I think is a very good indicator of how busy he's getting with the series, that he can no longer do
Mhm.
Wheel of Time Wednesdays and turn it over to the Wheel of Time on Prime um, Twitter account, which I'm sure whoever came up with the name is patting themselves on the back, as they should,
Definitely
because
agree.
that's great.
Which, to be
Um,
fair, I will also say it might not. I think it is definitely an indication of Rafe getting busy, but I also think that it's an
yeah,
indication of uh, Amazon Studios putting
Yeah.
together a PR team that now takes
yeah,
that over.
yeah.
Because before, I'm
But the
sure that they
thing
were
that
all doing it just very like, oh, well, we're just going to do it when we can and blah, blah, blah. And now there's an actual department whose whole job it is to do, outreach and whatnot. So,
Yeah. But the thing that I want to emphasize to everybody is everybody's so worried about how characters are going to look and how this is going to look. It's not just Amazon Studios producing this series. It's Amazon Studios in conjunction with
Right.
Sony Pictures,
Correct.
who is more than world renowned for their ability to work with special effects, CGI, stunts. That's what Sony Pictures is known for, making shit look dope.
And with the big names behind it, like that's one of the.
They are. There's no about it. They are. That's their call to fame.
I don't know. Sony actually doesn't have that much of a reputation for those particular things. I mean, like, I would say that other studios actually have more of a reputation for doing that, at least at this point.
Who?
Yeah, but I feel like this is being kind of billed as like that replacement, even though Amazon's making, Lord of the Rings prequel. I feel like they're trying to build this as like the next step to, that fantasy genre. Now that Game of Thrones is done, and there's kind of that hole to be filled by a new big fantasy series that needs to get started, and there's really nothing else kind of in the horizon, at least that's in pre-production, like Wheel of Time is. So I kind of feel like they're willing to put. It seems like they're willing to put a lot of money and time into getting this right the first time. So I kind of feel like they're going to be willing to do what it takes to make this first season, because that's it's going to be. Is if this first season doesn't work well, then it's it's going to be hard to see how much they're going to be willing to invest after that. But I feel really strongly, and I feel like they're taking a really, knowing that they're aiming for 2021 for like any episodes to come out. I feel like they're willing to put their production into it.
I
to
do agree
make
with
this
that,
look
and it does
by the
seem
time
like
this comes
they
out.
have put in the time or the work already to go ahead and get that done, especially with the people that they've brought on board. And I certainly hope that that actually is the case and it doesn't just look like it is, and that it actually will be. But yeah, so definitely, I mean, Amazon Studios is actually doing almost all of this. Sony is definitely on board as production for it, and so I think that they're going to be able to use a lot of Sony's tools. But I mean, given that Amazon Studios is actually doing most of it and then using Sony Studios, we'll see how much Sony's actually involved later on, because I don't think we'll actually probably get that information until it's already out. As far as like,
I don't think Amazon can afford to not
did.
Probably.
I don't think Amazon can afford to not include Sony, at least in the effects and CGI department, because of the reputation they do have for it. Because they do have a reputation for it from movies like Skyfall, Amazing Spider-Man, Men in Black 3, Underworld Awakening, Resident... Well, I can't use Resident Evil Retribution because that was just a bad movie, period, but...
And when Amazon first got announced as being the producer for the series, like, I've only seen like the go-to usually has been Netflix lately, or like Hulu, as far as like the names associated with great original production. But lately, a lot of the new videos that have been coming out of there, like The Boys, has been amazing. Like, it feels like they're really willing to put in the effort to create some great original content. That's what makes me feel really hopeful for what they can do with this, even though it is a joint venture between Sony and Amazon. I feel like there's going to be a lot of effort between the producers, between all the executives, the higher ups who would make those kind of decisions. I really feel like they're going to back as much as they can to making it look as authentic as humanly possible to bring in that audience.
Yeah. The only thing I'm interested in is, I know there's a ton of people...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just saying, like, there's a ton of people that have Amazon Prime. So I'm very interested to see how the marketing is going to go. And again, with that PR team, how they're going to get it out there and get everybody interested in watching it. I mean, obviously the pre-existing fan base is more than for it.
Yes.
But how are they going to get, the other people? And obviously there's a hole already left by Game of Thrones that Wheel of Time is more than easily going to fill and be better than.
Well, so there are actually a couple of shows right now that are a good example of what Amazon is doing to sort of like hype up their own originals. I mean, back a couple of years ago, the the man in the man in the high castle.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that was
That's
it.
what it's
Yeah,
called?
I actually I did watch that. I do
I
remember
don't
that.
know. I've never heard of it, to be honest with you.
They marketed that pretty hard when it came out, and then that one did not work incredibly. Like, they actually got a lot more people than anybody expected to watch it, but the numbers were actually still relatively low. But recently, The Boys came out on Amazon Prime, and that has been everywhere, and they have shattered what they were expecting to get people to watch that within the first week that it came out and whatnot. And so I don't know exactly where they marketed it or whatever, but I definitely saw it all over the place for things that I was watching. And I, in fact, watched The Boys right after it came out. And so I was grabbed by those things. And so if they do that kind of campaign again and grab the Game of Thrones crowd while keeping a number, while also encouraging people who actually just like the series in general, as well as anybody who's jumped on the bandwagon for any of their other shows that have come out, I think that they'll do just fine.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
again,
they will.
as long as
I
they
never
do a
watched
good
The Boys,
job
but I
with the
do
series.
remember seeing advertisements.
Yes, it's actually a really good show. So not to do free marketing for Amazon, but it's super fun and you should watch it.
I will. I don't even have the time to listen to the own episode of the own podcast
Right.
I'm in.
No, that's
Much
fair.
less TV shows.
But anyway,
Yeah. Anyway,
so we talked about Rosamund Pike a little already. We've now talked about her a little more. I think we should move on to the more recent announcements.
Yep. So we all got So Rafe announced, of course, that the Wheel of Time on Prime account would be taken over. Well, the Wheel of Time Wednesdays, after announcing, of course, it would now be a once a month thing, which fans were all like, yeah, we understand, that's fine. And then in the first week that they were responsible for it, they kind of, I don't want to say pissed off the fans, but disappointed the fans.
Yes.
By skipping on to be fair, yes, they never said what Wednesday.
They did. He said first of the month.
I know Rafe did. Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right.
But at the same time, I mean, I also do understand that.
Yeah, they didn't do anything on the first, other than releasing the quote that says, "No one knows the great pattern the wheel weaves, or even the pattern of an age. We can only watch, study, and hope. Just one more week until our next Wheel of Time Wednesday announcement. Can you guess what it is?" And everybody was like,
"Yeah." I think a lot of people did guess so that they're building up to something big, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, it did get a little bit exacerbated because Rafe either got screwed by not getting the information that they were not going to do that particular Wheel of Time Wednesday, or something fell through between the time that he tweeted and when they would have.
I think they expected agreements. Yeah, I think they expected agreements to be done by then, and something got delayed.
And so again, the question is whether it happened earlier in the day and Rafe just didn't know about it, so he tweeted that Wheel of Time Wednesday was going to be exciting and wait for an announcement, and then it never came, or whether literally between him tweeting that and when the Wheel of Time on Prime came out and said, hey, we're not going to do this for a week, whether there was something that fell through between those two times.
My thing is, at least they let the fans know, said, hey, we'll be doing it next week. And then the day before, they even came out and they're like, hey, we know we missed it. We're sorry, but we're going to make it up to you. You're going to love what's coming out tomorrow.
Yep.
Which, of course, they put that out on August 13th. Then August 14th, they started hyping up the announcement. 5 minutes before the first announcement, they were like, yeah, you guys are right, it is casting, but can you guess who? And of course, 5 minutes later, we got the first one with Joshua Stradowski as Rand al'Thor.
Yeah, I absolutely love that part.
I love the quotes they did for these.
They were great.
Rand's was, it was not about me, it's never been about me. Which for those that have, and I think the quotes mean all the more to people that have read the entire series.
Oh yeah,
Because then it kind of like, I'm not gonna lie, for most of the quotes, if not, especially reading one after the other, it kind of sends chills down the spine
little bit.
because I'm like, those are actually perfect for announcing.
Yeah, each one's
These
just a
castings.
direct line that kind of connects you through, like, because it's been a while since I've read the entire. I used to be one of those people to reread the entire series over and over again, and it's been a while. And as those castings were dropping, and they were dropping the lines that kind of resonate with every single of those characters, it just kind of immediately gave me kind of chills and brought me back to as I was reading that chapter for like the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
So Joshua Stradowski has been acting since a kid in like musicals and plays. He graduated from the AHK Theater School in Amsterdam and worked in a bunch of plays, including Oedipus, directed by Robert Icke, Icke. I'm so bad with pronouncing European names. I don't want to mess anyone up, but it was the Ivo van Hooves Theater Company in 2018. There was a TV it says a series that he finished filming on, and then he played the lead in a indie feature film, Just Friends, for which he and the film received a number of awards. And that's thus far, as of this exact moment, all that is on his IMDb.
Correct.
Which the mini biography is by Favored Talents, another website, which is where we found out his height from. 189 centimeters, which makes him 6'2", same height as me, 2 inches shorter than Daniel,
And roughly 2 to 3 inches shorter than what it claims in the book he is. Though again, it does, I think, matter a little bit more for that particular character about height, but at the same time, again, it's not something that's TV show breaking. So I'm really excited about him. He seems, I mean, he was one of the first to actually also post a picture of him with his copy of the book. And it does look well loved. It absolutely looks like, unless somebody gave it to him as a prop, which is always a possibility, but I'm hoping is not true. He actually does look like he knows the source material, which is super helpful. As well as I think that he definitely seems like what at least a version of what I imagined Rand was when I was reading.
Oh, shit.
So
I just went to his Twitter, and his top tweet on the 27th, that series is called High Flyers, and it looks like it's about I don't want to say American, but it looks like fighter pilots.
nice.
And there's a bunch of F-16s, and I want to say they're American fighter pilots. So me being in the Air Force, I am incredibly happy with that. But yeah, his copy of the book actually does look worn and red.
Yes.
So
As I said,
I'm hoping that
unless
that
that's
was
a
my
prop that
fear when
somebody
I saw
gave him
that.
to just make him look like he has credit. I do actually think that if that is accurate, which I'm hoping it is, that would be a very good sign.
Mm-hmm. But he hasn't been. Oh no, he has been on Twitter for a long time, since July 2015. But the oldest tweet we have on his Twitter is August 3rd, when he announced this was his official Twitter account, and then on the 14th, retweeting the announcement for him being cast as Rand al'Thor.
So, by the way,
which
there is
is
actually
definitely
a way that
interesting.
you can go into Twitter and sort of make private everything that happened before a certain time. So I'm
Mhm.
guessing that once he actually got agreed to the role and whatnot, that they actually went in and not purged, because I think there's actually still a record of those things, and you can see them if you're if you're allowed to. But I would not be surprised if you can't see anything that he did before the announcement, because this is a very high profile series.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm guessing that they actually did that for everyone. Unless definitely they would have done it if there was any skeletons on Twitter that they were worried about. And they probably did it for everybody just to make sure that there wasn't anything on there, because that has definitely gotten some people in trouble before. So I can very much imagine that they popped in there and took care of that.
Yeah. So my whole thing about excuse me, about pointing out the August 3rd thing is it seems like that's a pretty good indicator that given the announcement after that, just 11 days after that, that at least he probably knew by the 3rd. I mean, definitely he had been in talks for it.
Yes.
Before then, because those talks take a long time. But I would think that by the 3rd, he probably had him and his agents or whatever have you, his management might have had a pretty good idea that he was going to get the role.
Very possible.
So, or at least I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that it didn't just come out of nowhere for him. I mean, I'm sure it was a good surprise if it did.
I'm wondering how, like, we got the announcements in a specific order, but I'm kind of wondering, we'll probably learn this at a later point, like, at who were they aiming to cast first? Like, they casted Moraine first, but I'm wondering if they really did that in order, if they were focused on finding, the perfect Rand al'Thor, then kind of working down the list, or did he end up being, like, the last person to find out? Like, it's kind of little things like that would be fun to analyze.
Yeah. Well, I kind of find it interesting. I wonder if maybe they waited, like maybe they did have, maybe Rand and Egwene already picked, and they wanted to wait till they got the whole main cast from Amon's Field before they announced anyone.
I'm pretty sure that's what was that's true. And I think that we might find out who the holdout was, or like what agreement was problematic for that announcement, but I doubt we'll actually really find out what order they were in, just because there's always so many moving parts in this that I doubt any one person actually even really knows.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
imagine they were
Kelly
looking at
Hendry
so many people
knows,
for so many different
but-
roles. Yeah, because I don't think they would look, okay, let's get this one role before we look for anything
Correct.
else. I'm pretty sure they were looking at several people for several roles, and these just happen to be the ones that they've decided on thus far, that they're ready to release thus far. Because I guarantee at the same time that you can't have discussions on who to cast as Moraine without working on who you're going to cast as Lan.
Correct.
Just like you can't cast. Sorry, my dog just scared the crap out of me by laying on my headphone cord. Just like you can't cast. I don't think, at least not for the first the first book, you can't cast Matt and Rand without.
That's
who you're
the
going
interesting
to
thing
cast
about the
as
series
Tom.
is every character plays off another main character or secondary character. There's no like one character that really stands alone, that when you cast him that everyone else can kind of play off of him. Everyone has such really big, especially in the first book, really big profound moments. I mean, Matt is huge. A lot of his beginning story is in the first book. Perrin is a lot of their personalities are really established and set up within the first handful, I guess, episodes or chapters of what this is going to be. And that that's what kind of makes me wonder, as they're casting, are they thinking like this guy would be a great play off of Joshua, or Zoe's going to look great next to Lan? Like, I'm wondering how, as they're casting, if they're thinking in their head like these actors or actresses are going to look great paired up together as their stories get told through their episodes.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they quite did it for everybody, because when you go on the next person we're going to talk about, Twitter, there's stuff that keeps going back. Sorry, I got caught up on the Twitter thing again.
That's all good.
It's okay.
It is also interesting that, of course, Moraine seems to be pretty much the same character throughout the entire series. And then Nynaeve is one of those who has a very, very strong personality from the beginning. And so she also seems relatively set in who she is as a person and as a character from the outset. And also you do have Matt, who, with the other than the supernatural changes that happen to him, he personality wise is very much the same. Rand and Egwene and Perrin all seem to actually make relatively large personality changes throughout the story. And therefore, it's also interesting to think about the fact that you can't just cast someone who you think is going to be able to play Eye of the World Rand.
Mhm.
You absolutely have to cast somebody who you think can play Eye of the World Rand, but that can also very much play Darth Rand later.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And so that's
I mean,
going to be an interesting thing to see whether they're right. And
Yeah.
certainly let me be very clear, Josha, if you are listening, I am not questioning you. I'm just saying, we don't have the evidence because the
You're saying
series
you could have
hasn't
done it
been
better.
made yet, and therefore we'll see. Yes, I'm also clearly saying, Andrew, that I can do it better.
Yeah, we believe you could. I'd agree. Moraine doesn't change. We just get to know her better
Yeah.
and more
Right.
in depth.
Definitely.
Basically, the
And-
character gets revealed to you rather than actually like changing.
Yeah. So, and Nynaeve, I think she does change slightly in A Crown of Swords, but it doesn't really change her ultimate character.
Yeah, exactly.
It alters it slightly, and I think it's because of the event. It's enough to consider, and I'm not saying you didn't, but yeah, by and large, Nynaeve is Nynaeve from start to finish.
Mhm.
Um,
And her drive
think
is
she's
always the same. Like she always has the
Yeah.
same passion throughout the first book all the way up to the last.
Yep.
all right. So ready to move on to the next?
Yep, let's go.
Number 205. So the second announcement was, excuse me, Marcus Rutherford as Perrin Ibarra, with a quote, "It was about a man whose family was taken from him, but who stood tall in his sorrow and protected those he could," which is a spoiler for people that haven't read the series. But it is, again, I think, the perfect quote to go along with the casting of Perrin.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they did all their casting pictures, the pictures they put with their casting announcement in black and white, I think just adds to that, the way the quotes go on.
Oh, yeah.
Like, part of me
there's
wishes
a
they
mythos.
didn't put that in there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, part of me wishes they maybe chose a different way to put the quote for Perrin. I don't know how they would, because that does give away stuff that does happen later. But
Well, it's interesting.
I don't know how else they would do
that
it.
is definitely a spoiler. But it is one of those ones that's kind of interesting where it's only a spoiler if you know it's a spoiler.
Yeah.
Because, like, it just sounds like words, and, like, flowery words and poetic words. And kind of like,
Would it be fair? It does say taken. It doesn't necessarily say how.
Correct.
Or in what method. So it does leave a little bit of ambiguity. I do think that most people are going to, that some people are going to see it as just words. But I think there's a good portion of the people that actually follow the casting. Of course, a lot of them being fandom of the series already, but those that aren't, that are going to see that as this is on his, and they might not know, but they're probably going to figure like this is about his family, probably, because why else would they put it with him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there would be little hints. I think there's enough there where if you know nothing about the character or the books, that you assume it might be, some, but before you even get to that book, like, he meets other people that, he forms connections with. So I think it's enough ambiguity there that people might not be able to assume, exactly what that's connected to.
Yeah. But Marcus Rutherford, the thing that I know and a lot of people were hoping for especially after seeing Rosamund Pike cast as Moraine, and a lot of people theorized and were correct about, was that that a lot of the cast were going to be lesser known actors and actresses.
Yeah.
Which I agree. I think it's a great idea. You don't want a whole thing of all A-list actors, because then you lose money. Not only do you lose money on the other parts, the other things that go into production and effects and so on, you have less to spend on that. But you also start seeing characters, the people that are playing them as other characters they've played. So, like, for me, yeah, I will forever see Rosamund Pike as Miranda Frost. But I also don't see Miranda Frost as mutually exclusive to Moraine.
Mm-hmm.
because Miranda Frost was kind of one of those like cold, contemplative, until the fight scene with Holly Berry, but I like it. But so Marcus Rutherford is known for Obey in 2018, County Lines, and Shakespeare and Hathaway Private Investigators in 2018. None of which I have seen.
Yeah, they're not big productions.
Yeah. So Obey is about London going towards a time of violent social unrest, and all it says is a young man's life is torn apart by love from a girl from a different place. And I think he plays the star character because his name is first in the list of stars.
He does.
So kind of makes me want to watch him to see his acting, but I also kind of don't want to because I don't want to see these actors and all playing other characters before I see them in the Wheel of Time, because I don't want to go in thinking how they're going to be in comparison to the characters that I already know from reading the series.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's great for the way that they did it was they focused on, pretty much what everyone agreed was finding, established actors, not like, not A-listers, but those who have like, some experience under their belt and are looking for that project that would be like their established picture kind of thing. Like it happens a lot of, big TV series or, that one movie that kind of puts them in the limelight, and to find like the right actors and actresses who kind of can, take that character and kind of make it their own. So you don't really see anyone else who could be in that position.
Yeah. No, and it's actually really interesting because we talked about this a little bit on our, to the Patreons, both this episode and the last episode. But Marcus Rutherford is a very big guy. He's taller than the actor who's playing Rand, which is, again, not book accurate, but who cares? And very, very much like not what I imagined Perrin would be. And just because I didn't picture him as being that big. Now, like wide, certainly. I mean, it talks about his muscles and his stature and whatnot. But not
how big is he?
What?
How big?
He's like
is
6'4" and like really buff.
Yeah, the picture was really misleading. Like I saw on the comments underneath, everyone kept saying, "No, this guy's way too skinny to be Perrin." I'm like, "No, he's really not." Like there's some like really good. Yeah, he's got some really good pictures of him where, like, and he's probably ever since he got casted, he's probably been working out to be, set to be like, that perfect kind of blacksmith kind of role.
The buff blacksmith.
He has.
So,
yeah,
I would love to find out that his workout regimen. Yeah, I would love to hear that his workout regimen has been working as a blacksmith apprentice.
That'd be hilarious.
That'd be amazing. Yeah,
that would be amazing. I mean, it'd be a great workout, and he wouldn't have to relearn how to look like a blacksmith in the series.
Right.
That'd be a great way if he decided to, if he went to learn that before they went to production. That'd be an interesting.
Joshua gets in shape learning how to be a sword master.
Right. Nynaeve gets in shape by pulling on a braid. But yeah, so it definitely was a little bit jarring because I was like, oh wow, that's not what I imagined. But it was really nice because Rafe Judkins actually made a comment or like retweeted each of these with a comment after they came out, like a number of hours after, and his comment about Marcus specifically, that apparently he went into the audition room with all of them. Like obviously he had done a number of these before, because you don't get to that room with Rafe Judkins and all of the other producers until you've done a few of these. But went into the room, did this reading, and walked out, and everybody in the room was in tears, and they were all just like, "That's Perrin. Like we don't even need to look anymore. That's the guy."
I think,
and that just made me really happy.
All these announcements with the exception of Joshua.
What?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do one for the Rand cast.
Correct. He did leave him sort of out. But he did comment on everybody else.
Yeah, he didn't even mention by the end. He's like, I'm exhausted.
Right.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But that's the part that makes me feel really excited that he could walk into a room. Like I would love to know what passage he did that made them cry.
Right.
I mean, I can assume a few of them, but I would absolutely, yeah, I would die to be in that room and see how he kind of brought the character to life and to have that kind of reaction. But to know that he took control of the role, because that's what Perrin is. Like Matt's, the jokester. Rand, he's more the suffering character in the beginning anyway. Like he was more go lucky. He's still, they're still kids at that time, but he's still he's still trying to find his own. Perrin's always been the more solemn, more kind of the grounded character than I think the others as it goes. So he's more like, more serious than like anyone else. I would love to see how he kind of brought that to life, as it were.
Oh yeah. So we're ready for the next one?
Yep.
All right. So moving on from Perrin, the next announcement was that Zoe Robbins would be playing Nynaeve with the quote, "It was about a woman who refused to believe that she could not help, could not heal those who had been harmed," which is, again, all that more impactful for people that know the character Nynaeve already.
Yarp.
And I think she's going to be great as Nynaeve.
I
know
the idea that a Power Ranger is going to play Nynaeve.
I love the idea that a Power Ranger is going to play Nynaeve. I don't love the idea that it's a Power Ranger from Power Rangers Ninja Steel.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
I didn't care for Ninja Steel. I grew up loving Power Rangers, so I give love to the Power Rangers. I'm just going to chalk it up to bad luck on her part. She's actually barely older than me. Holy shit. She's 5 months older than me. 5 months and minus 4 days older than me. And also born in a very different place. I was not born in New Zealand. But yeah. So kudos to her for being a Power Ranger, but it's not her fault. She couldn't be the Power Rangers that we grew up watching, but that's I'm gonna hope that she grew up watching them too. That's what inspired her to be a Power Ranger.
Yep.
But yeah, that was her most recent, at least on IMDb, her most recent role for in Power Rangers Ninja Steel in 2017. She also played in the Shannara Chronicles in 2016 and The New Tomorrow in 2005. Talking about height, she is 5'8". She's the same height as Moraine,
which is going to be perfect. Like that's very appropriate.
Oh yeah, or 1.73 meters for those of you that don't use inches and feet. For those of you that don't use freedom units. America, fuck yeah.
Yeah, actually, I've actually seen her on Ninja Steel. I used to watch with my younger brother, and she actually, I can see kind of, because Naveen's always, very aggressive, but more keeps like her emotions on the inside. I can see her doing really well with. She kind of played the same kind of. I can't remember her character's name. It's driving me nuts. I can't remember it, but yeah, it was kind of a little bit similar. So I can kind of see why they would kind of bring that personality into it. And her hair, I think, is absolutely perfect for it. That's the one thing I know they were looking for. I know it's going to look absolutely perfect for it.
I mean, it was nominated for the movie was nominated for, or not the movie, but Power Rangers Ninja Steel was nominated for a Blimp Award at the Kids' Choice Awards USA in 2018. So definitely couldn't have been bad. I haven't seen it. I get the gist of what it looked like from the trailer, but I'm more of like an older Power Rangers fan. Yeah, I don't know her name, but she played the pink Power Ranger.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just really hoping that Wheel of Time can capture the amazing special effects that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers had. That's what I'm looking for.
Yes. That's the one. That was my favorite one. I used to have posters in my room of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I used to go to cons. I've actually met like all 5 of them. I got autographs and everything.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
that's gonna be worth a lot here soon. eBay. Just kidding. So since we're talking about what Rafe tweeting back out, in response to these, of course, he did tweet out about her as well, saying that they sent about 24 Nynaeve tapes to the writers' room. So that's what 24 different auditions.
Yep.
And according to Rafe, when they asked who they liked, every single person said Zoe. So
Wow.
that definitely has to speak volumes. I mean, that means that that Sarah definitely said Zoe. And the others in the writing room, Sarah's the only name I can remember at the moment because I'm a horrible human being.
No, you're not.
She's the one who's the most public.
Oh yeah, that is true. I mean, she did get the Will Weaves tattoo in Prague, so
That was impressive. It is a lot of fun to watch her on Twitter. She posts so many good stuff.
it's nothing. It's not quite my sleeve, but
Yes. Well, they're also the
it's
two
a good
Clarksons that are, I don't remember their first names, that are in the writers' room, who they were announced ages ago as being part of the writers' room when they joined. But those are the only three that I actually know. I don't know if I have actually seen anybody else be publicly announced as being part of it.
Yeah. So, anything else about Zoe Robbins?
Nope.
All right. So the next one is Barney Harrison or Harris. Sorry, the O throws me off at the end of his Twitter handle every time. Barney Harris as Matt Coulson, with the quote, "It was about a hero who insisted with every breath that he was anything but a hero." This is the one that when I saw the picture and I saw the quote, I was the same way. I'm like, yep, that's Matt.
I think he's the only one that universally everyone said, yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah.
Well, and it is really funny because I actually brought this up last time or last episode because we were literally talking about Matt, and we had already gotten the announcement. But so this isn't specifically about Matt necessarily, but it is interesting to me that they basically threw out some of the book here, which again doesn't matter, and I'm actually okay with on a certain level, but it is interesting to me that we'll get to her in a second, but Madeline, Zoe, and Marcus are all ethnically ambiguous. I mean, you can kind of gather what race they are, and it's not white for all of them. Barney and Josha are both white. And that throws another kind of wrench in the engine of like why everybody is weirded out that Rand keeps saying he's from Emond's Field, and like why, he has always felt a little out of place. Because now there's like three people who very much look dramatically different than Josha.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Matt, who looks like he could be Josha's brother. And you're like, okay. He's definitely got dark hair, but he's got pale skin and green eyes. So, like, you're kind of just checking out a piece of the story that, like, everybody in Emond's Field is, for the most part, one way, and then there's Rand who's different. And so, again, I don't think it's a problem, and I do think it's funny that so many people were like, oh, yeah, no, this is exactly what I imagined for Matt, when you're like, except that you're also saying that these other people are exactly what you imagined for other things, and that doesn't jive.
Yeah, I mean, he is Joshua is white, but even given that, to me, he still looks starkly different than Barney Harris.
Mm-hmm.
No, I definitely agree with the point you're making.
Well, because and again,
I see where they at least tried to include that stark difference from the rest of the people from Emond's Field. But I also see where they're also trying to be inclusive in the modern socioeconomic world, which is fantastic. I think it's great. But I think there's a big enough difference between the appearances that Joshua Stradowski and Barney Harris have, that it may not, it's not as big, of course, between the other three, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I think it still shows enough. It shows the effort, I think.
Mm-hmm. I also wonder if they're kind of doing it for story reasons, like not to make Rand look completely too out of place. Because if it's going to be shot from a Marine's perspective, and they're trying to
Yeah.
hide, the big reveal until the very end, it might be that trying to, even though I think Barney and Josh, like they both are white, but they're also, I think they still look kind of different. Like I feel like everyone together, I think there's enough of a little bit of a difference where, like, I don't think like Rand stands out or like Matt stands out really. So it's that way that you can kind of like, if Joshua was going to be way too different from everyone else, and it'd be kind of obvious that where the story's kind of going.
I mean, you want to see drastically different photos? Look at Barney Harris's IMDb picture, and then look at the casting announcement picture.
Right.
Like at first, I'm like, am I even on the right page?
No, it's funny. I mean, like, honestly,
Yeah.
the casting photos are great, but they actually look dressed not like insignificantly different than all of them when you actually look at pictures of them, like from images or whatever.
Yeah, they definitely look different for faux show. Faux show. So anything else about Matt or Monsieur Barney Harris? Oh.
No, I'm just very, very excited to see what he does with it. Matt's my favorite character, so I can't wait to see him bring that to life.
I mean, Rafe says that when we see him, we'll fall over dead.
Oof. Man,
So
I don't know if that's really a good tactic.
I mean, he said
for Wheel of
Barney
Time.
simply is Matt. There's nothing more to say.
Yeah, right.
So
I just hope Barney can play illiterate really, really well when we get to that part.
All right. So the last announcement from August 14th, as far as casting, the last announcement period, is that Madeline Madden will be playing Egwene Alver with the quote, "It was about a woman who could not bend her back while she was beaten and who shone with a light for all who watched." And the last part of that is an almost, I don't want to say too much about it, but it's foreshadowing for those of us that have read the series.
Yep.
And there's adjectives I could use to describe it, but it would give away, so I can't.
Indeed.
Yeah. But it's really good. I'm really excited to see how she does. Again, she is another. I think Twitter's coined the phrase, the acronym POC, for people that are casted like that. It stands for persons of color.
Correct.
As the Twitter community has said it, and people are so happy to see it. I think we're all happy to see it. I mean, me personally, I don't really care who they casted. Like that's not what I look at whenever I look to see if I like who's been cast for what roles. I'm just like, can you play the role right or not?
Correct.
But that's just the kind of person I am. I look at, can you do the job right? Can you play the role right? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, there are definitely a few instances in films and television and everything like that where it actually does end up mattering pretty significantly, just based on the way that the story is told or what time period it's in or whatever. I think that Wheel of Time is definitely one of those perfect opportunities to literally just cast the person who can play it the best.
Oh yeah.
So
definitely.
I'm totally down with, everything that they have done and hopefully everything that they will do, where it does seem like their focus is who can play this the best. That's who we're going to get to play it.
Yeah. So Rafe also revealed in his retweet on this announcement that he had often identifies the most with Egwene, which makes me sad. But to each their own, everybody has their favorite characters.
Even when that favorite character is wrong.
Yeah. So wrong. Makes so many horrible choices.
The only person that it would have hurt me more to hear that Rafe identifies with would be, okay, so I identify the most with Gawain, and then I would have been like, we're doomed. This whole series is doomed.
Like, we got to get a new director. He identifies with like the worst character in the series.
You could have said I identify the most with Valen Luca, and I would have trusted you more.
Oh yeah. So IMDb and Rafe disagree on the spelling of Maddie's nickname, the difference between IE and Y.
Sure.
But I just think it's funny. I don't really care. I just think it's funny.
Her most
like one of those, like,
credit
weird things.
is the Dora live action movie that just came out this August.
Oh yeah, Dora and the Lost City of Gold.
Correct.
She's also done Picnic at Hanging Rock and Mystery Road.
Yep.
She's also things I like about IMDb is they put trivia about some of the actors and actresses when they have it available.
Yes.
That she's the daughter of art curator and writer Hetty Perkins, granddaughter of activist and soccer player Charles Perkins, great granddaughter of Hetty Perkins, who was an errant. I don't even know how to say that word. Arrerente. Elder and niece of director Perkins. She is of Aboriginal, Australian, as well as German, Irish, and English ancestry. So she is a person of color for sure. But she is, you can't really call her, like, you wouldn't call her African American or anything like that.
Nope.
Because she is not. She is of Aboriginal, German, Irish, and English descent. Which I think, including people of color in the casting, I think makes the black and white photos all that more important and significant. Because I think it's kind of like, and I almost feel like an English teacher reading into like why the author said the curtains were red. But I think even if it wasn't intended that way, the fandom can definitely use it, because I know there's going to be some people that are pissed that
They already have
that all the characters aren't white. Oh yeah, they have, and they're simply wrong. But I think it's one of those things, like, it doesn't matter what color they are. It's, can they play the role right? Can they do the role justice? Because so far, the only kind of videos that the Wheel of Time fandom has gotten is the video that shall not be named, the pilot, and then fan-made videos that people did mostly in their own homes and own areas that were like 1,000 times better than that god-awful pilot.
There was a pilot?
That creator, the Light Forsaken pilot.
Yep.
But again, she's another one that, like we were talking about the pictures, in her IMDb picture, she looks very different from the picture they chose for a casting.
Yep.
And I don't know how much of that is that the pictures are in black and white and it changes some characteristics slightly.
I think it was
not.
Also lighting. They used some very interesting lighting for those casting photos, which make them look really cool, but also make them look very different.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if you can't get over the appearance of the actor actresses, whether it's whatever ethnicity or race they may be, or how tall they are, or what color their hair is, then, to be fair, you're looking at all the wrong things, and you're not looking at, can they do the character justice. And to be honest, you're not really welcome in the fandom, to be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. I was going to say,
You're not.
Thank you for throwing that out, because I think at the end of the day, everybody is welcome to the fandom. And when it comes right down to it, especially, let me be very clear. If you are being racist for the sake of being racist, then you don't belong anywhere and you should just stop. But if there are actually story-related reasons where you actually have the evidence to back it up and you actually think that something is true based on its narrative relevance, then I still think you're wrong. I still think that, again, we should look at people almost exclusively on their ability to play the role. That being said, I don't think that you're like wrong for thinking that necessarily, in terms of if it's actually something that matters to the narrative, then it is something that matters to the story. And their ability to play the role is their ability to tell that story. And so if they're making it more difficult for that person to tell that story, then they're not really doing them any favors.
That's more so what I meant. Maybe I didn't phrase it the right way, which isn't surprising because we all know how well I can speak the English language.
Phrasing.
Yeah.
Lana.
Well, that's basically what I was getting at. If you're hung up on these things just because of the things they are, not for reasons that you can back with, this doesn't really line up with the story. Because I mean, I myself, generally, I am one of those people that I want things to be as close to the story as they could be within relative reason.
Yes.
Like, don't toss out a fantastic actor or actress for a shitty one just because this person matches the description more. But I'm one of those people that like the first Harry Potter movie. In the book, he goes through thousands of wands or hundreds of wands. And in the movie, he goes through 3. And I'm not saying we should sit there and watch him go through hundreds, but do like a bit of a time skip cut, and there's wand boxes laying open all over the place.
Yep.
Stuff like that. Stay truer. And yeah, it's a minute detail and whatever. Go fuck yourself. But
no, but it matters.
But yeah, to me it matters because, yeah.
That there are,
because in the book it's a very big thing, because Ollivander is very confused at why he cannot find a wand, because I'm always so good at choosing the right wands for the wizards and and witches or whatever, which doesn't really do much for you until the Deathly Hallows, really, whenever you see Ollivander as a prisoner. But which, for those that remember how sweet of an old man he is in the first book, in the first movie, should be an honestly heartbreaking scene.
Mm-hmm.
But that's neither here nor there.
But no, it goes back to the book accuracy, because there is definitely, I mean, it's always a little bit of a weird path, because on the one hand, the only reason that you are getting to make a television show out of this source material is because it's such good source material. Like, I mean, obviously we do have Twilights. It exists. But at the same time, for the vast majority of things that actually get taken from one medium to another, it's because that story is so good. It's because that one, source is so good that they decide that they need to move it into another area of media, whether that be play to television, whether that be book to movie, whether that be movie to comic. Who cares? Almost always it's because the response to that particular thing was so good that people are like, this needs to be moved into another medium. And so it is this weird path to tread, because it is impossible to actually make it completely accurate. There just don't exist the people to do so. There is not a pool of people who exists who can perfectly match everything. And there's also, time constraints and things that you have on films and television and whatnot that make it so that you do have to cut certain things out of the story. Otherwise, as the, Wheel of Time community has laughed about and made jokes about, this series would be like 11,000 episodes long. But that being said, you always go back to the fact that people thought that this was so good that it should be turned into a television show, which means that you want to stick as close as you can to that source material, because that's what was so good that people decided that it needed to be a television show. And so when you start really messing with that formula and you really start changing the story, you end up getting these Game of Thrones situations where people are like, that's not how that happened, and it's better in the book. Harry Potter situations where they're like, that's not how that happened, and it was better in the book. A bunch of different instances where, while the overall product is still good, there are a number of instances where you look at the source material and go, I told the story better.
Yeah. And to me, like, anytime you take any kind of like novel or series or trilogy and you have to translate it from the written word to the screen, you have to have allowances for that.
Yep.
You know, you can't include every single minute detail that we've come to love from the Wheel of Time book series in the TV series, because it's not realistic in terms of holding viewers' attentions. It's not realistic in terms of finances. It's just not realistic in any sense of the word.
Yep.
And there's a lot of the books that's background information that doesn't translate to the screen, because you're not going to just like in the middle of a scene have a narrator show up and start reading from a tome. You know, that's just, I mean, they might do that for one or two things. I don't know, but I don't want to sit there and
Ran
get an
went
occasion
down to the river, and he
Yeah.
took a cup full of water and
Yeah.
drank it.
I really do. Yeah. And we know they're going to do better than that.
Morgan Freeman is Luz Theron Telemon. Done. That's what I want.
That would be
But
incredible.
I think
Elena, Elena, what have I done?
But I think the Wheel of Time on Prime's last tweet on August 14th is a good summary of it,
Yes.
where it says it was about them all. Because it really is. For those of us that have read the story, we know it's not just about Rand. It's not just about Matt, Perrin, Egwene, Nynaeve, Moraine, Lan, Tom. Pick a character. It's not just about them. It's about all of them, because every single character, well, not every single character in the entire series, but you know, characters like Man. I tried to say Matt and Rand at the same time.
I think
Matt, Rand,
we just gave them
Perrin.
their ship name.
Yeah, they're the Man. Together,
Man.
we are Man.
Man.
Yeah. But
Not to be confused with Mandarb.
oh yeah.
Also not to be confused with Mandark.
But I mean, they all have their they really have their unique storylines that may or may not culminate to intertwine together. I mean, there's a reason that the phrase is the wheel weaves, and it's reminiscent of the wheel of a loom spinning out threads. Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Yep.
Without going too far in detail. But I'm very excited to see how this is going to go. I think it's going to go great. I love that they're not super well-known actors, except for, obviously, Rosamund Pike.
Well, and of course, we definitely don't have, a whole lot. We have the 5 that have been announced that are the Emmons Fielders, and then Moraine. And so I am excited to see if they do include some other big actors to play certain roles. I mean, like, I absolutely love, like, I could not like it anymore. It is not possible that I so want Keanu Reeves to play Arthur Hawkwing. It would be absolutely incredible.
Who's the guy that's over the circus?
Valen Luca.
Oh yeah, imagine Pierce Brosnan as Valen Luca.
Oh god.
That's what I'm hoping after the first season, this show just becomes super popular, so they can get like A-list actors to play like those kind of minor roles that kind of pop up every so often. Like like Luca or Hawkwing, or because you do have those really important characters, but they only are there for maybe like a few episodes at a time.
Yeah,
and it'd be great to just see like recognizable faces kind of pop in, pop out as that happens.
Yep.
Yeah. I still say, like, it would be hilarious. I know we've already said Gilbert Gottfried for the voice of Luz Theron, but he'd be funny. He would bring a humor to a character that deserves no humor if he played Padan Fane.
Oh god.
Like, you'd laugh at Padan Fane when there should be no laughing with Padan Fane.
I can smell him. He's down in the dungeons. What do you do? Patton, stop yelling. It's the only way I can say my lines. Oh god. What are you doing, Gilbert? Just take a chill pill. Oh man.
For I almost see for Penn Fane, I would love to see Jonathan Phoenix actually. After seeing that Joker trailer, where he just makes that like transition from like mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. He's one of those people who actually creeps me out in real life, so I don't necessarily want him to play a creepy character. Because there are times when I'm just like, too real, Joaquin. I don't know if I can. I don't. You're stop, please.
That's why actually I was reading a really funny line about that. Like for the Joker movie, instead of filming a sane actor who was acting crazy, they just filmed a crazy actor down the barrel of insanity.
Yeah. Nah, and it'll be really interesting because again, I do definitely want many of the roles to be played by sort of unknowns, especially the ones that become very important later. But at the same time, I think that it will be very fun if we get some really cool, well known actors to play a number of other roles as well, including things like I think a number of actors we know and love could give a lot of gravitas to Lan. I think that a number of actors that we know and love could give a lot of credibility and whatnot to characters like Padan Fane and like Elaine. Well, actually, Elaine should be pretty young, so unless they got somebody who was like a child actor, she wouldn't really be.
Whoa, we're not shooting that kind of TV show.
No. She was a child actor, and she's now not. Get your head out of the gutter, you butthole.
Hey, you said it.
You're the one who thought it.
Hey, I was thinking along the pure and wholesome lines. All right, I would rather say
podcast.
don't do that.
None of us do that.
Yeah. So who would you from each of us? I'd like to get who are you hoping is the next casting announcement?
I would really like to find out who there are 4 characters who I actually really want to know from this particular or that are going to be very important relatively early on and will actually show up in season 1, so it's kind of important for them to be cast soonish, and that is Tom, Lan, Elaine, and Morghese.
Okay.
So
yeah, that'd be pretty. Yeah.
Any differences with you, David?
Probably the ones I'm most excited for would be Tom, as he's such a big, influential character on Matt and Ren in the beginning, and then especially near the end. I would absolutely love to see who they can cast for that, as well as Min, because I'm curious what direction they'll go with her. Yeah, with Elaine too, because all, Gwen, Elaine, Min, and Evinia, when they get to there, they're all important characters to the story as far as being around the main trio. So it'll be interesting to see who they eventually cast for those. Because they're essentially, even though they're not there really in the beginning, they're huge characters, and I'll love to see what they do with them. As well as even Tam, Rand's dad, I'd love to see who they cast as that too.
Yeah, I'd have to say for me, it's Tam, Lan, and Padan Fane, and Tom. Or did I say Tom? Tam,
No,
Lan, Padan Fane, and Tom. Yeah, those are the ones I want to see the most right now. Because
I think that means that we're all agreed on Tom and
definitely.
Lan.
Yeah,
and we all have 2 other characters that we want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more so interested to see who Padan Fane is because I know whoever they choose is going to be around at least for a little while.
Oh yeah,
I can fully see them doing different actors at different points for Padan Fane, actors or whatever. Yeah. I don't necessarily know if I like that idea or not, but I could see it and at least somewhat understand it.
Yeah, I really hope that they don't. I really think that it'd be way.
If there was a character, if there was any character they had to change actors on besides the obvious, I think Padan Fane would be the one I'd be most readily accepting of. And Tam, just because of the character that Tam is, and the role that he does play later on
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
series.
I will admit that
can they capture the good father figure?
Yeah. I'm actually really interested to see who they cast as Tam, because once this is all over and they do the prequel series that's based on his life, can he make that
And Tam has
viable?
such like it gets to the end of the series in order to like really get to his core, but he has like such a like in the first book anyway, he has such a mysterious background. Like you learn a little bit more about him, so he has to play kind of like he has to play that like really really well as far as like the fatherly figure. But you know he plays like the hidden past like really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really curious if we're gonna get that scene.
Ari always wanted a baby.
I wonder if we're gonna get that actual scene in the first series, or if they're gonna hold off and use it as a flashback to help keep the main, the dragon's identity kind of hidden.
Yeah.
I almost kind of want if they're going to go for the element of surprise, I want them to wait and have it as a flashback.
Yeah.
Have the scene where Nynaeve tries to help Tam, and so on, which that's in the first book. So don't come at me for spoilers if you haven't even read the first book. What the fuck are you doing? Go read now.
In fact, I feel like they actually have to have the farm scene to a certain extent, but they don't necessarily need to show as much that happens on the road back to Emmonsfield.
Yeah, I think they can because they can equally show, because we learned that the Trollocs attack all three boys.
Yep, and they can actually show each of them dealing with that, if you will.
Yeah, and I think they should
make it very flux and very questionable as to like, oh, well, all three of them got attacked, so they're all three equal. No, they're not, but you don't know that.
I mean, could you imagine like just the cinematic value of Moiraine kind of reading through or talking through the prophecy, or even Rand reading it, and it says, a child born on the slopes of Dragonmount, and and Rand flashes back to the dark in the woods with Tam bleeding and dying, and you just Rand like suddenly
I feel like that might be how
they
play it out too. Like, it feels like they're really going to try to keep it a surprise as long as possible. So I kind of see them kind of really keeping their cards to the vest, as it were, and just try to play it as the events that happen. Because while in the books, Robert Jordan was very, very descriptive, because that's what he was really good at, and he was doing a lot from Rand's point of view. But in the TV, it kind of gives them the ability not to do that. Yeah, they can flash between each boy's houses as like a Troll attack happens, and kind of make them all be involved with things that were just from Rand's point of view. So that way, if you know nothing about the series, you'll be kind of, you'll know that something's going on, that someone's important, but you may or may not be able to pick it up right away.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if the series can make me like Egwene instead of just tolerate her, then it will be absolutely amazing.
Yep.
But if that's their goal for the series, their one goal is to get me to tolerate Egwene or to like Egwene.
All right, Madeline, you have your.
I'm not worried about too much about Egwene. I'm more worried about Vielle when we get to that.
Come on, Maddie, you can do it.
They make her, if they can cast someone who can turn me around and make me like her, then I know they got a 5-star show on their hands.
Oh yeah.
All right then.
But I think that's about as much of the current cast news we can talk about. Obviously, none of this shouldn't be new news for anybody listening. I kind of like that we didn't do like so many other people have done and immediately talk about it as soon as it's announced. But of course, we can't be a Wheel of Time podcast. I mean, we can without talking about it, but it'd be weird.
It would be weird.
Gonna have to talk about it. But so what do you guys think? Who are you the most excited for out of the castings we have now? Who do you think will do the best job? I'm not asking who you think will do the worst job. I mean, you're more than welcome to say that as long as you have like legitimate thoughts behind it. But yeah, and who do you guys want to see in the next announcement, which may only be like a half a week after this episode airs?
Yep.
Because this will air on the 30th of August.
Yep.
So if they manage to, if they do the first week of what's next month, September, then it'll only be a half a week. If not, it'll be a week and a half. So obviously, I don't know why I'm like saying obvious shit for people.
Indeed.
It's okay.
So I'll start. I don't know who will do the best. I actually really, it's so hard to go ahead and say something like that with so little evidence. I mean, like, again, my gut reaction would be Rosamund, just because there's so much more that we have to look at. And so I trust her, if you will, as an actress, pretty much, 100%. But at the same time, again, with so little evidence, it's really hard to say. As far as who I'm the most excited for, I would probably say that at least first season, Marcus is who I'm the most excited for, just because, again, with Rafe's comment, I'm expecting a lot, as well as Perrin really is this character that goes through a hell of a lot in the first season, especially if they cut out a little bit of what Rand goes through in the book. To keep that surprise going, then I think that Perrin will be above and beyond the most, like, sort of just deals with the most shit in the first season. And so I'm very excited about that. The next one that I really hope to see is Tom. And there have been so many good, like, options and whatnot that have been tossed around for his casting, but he is definitely one of the people that I think makes the story. And while, like, Lan is also incredibly important, and I'm not trying to downplay his character, I think that Tom is probably one of the most important characters in the story overall. And so I am really excited to see who they get to play that, like, such a central character to so many different stories in the books.
Yeah. It's kind of awkward. I was actually trying to start our outro, and I was like asking like the listeners.
Oh.
I guess I could have made that more clear. I am dropping the ball tonight.
Gotcha. It's okay. Well, you might want to do that again a little more clear, and then just cut that whole section.
Oh no, I can just cut it out. I think when they don't hear us answer them, they should know it's for them.
That's fair.
I can do it. But yeah, for you, the listeners, definitely who do you think is going to do the best or expect the most from? Which, if there's a singular one that you were the most excited for, or like one or two, which announcements have excited you the most, and who are you guys hoping to see in the next announcement? You kind of heard us talk a little bit about, who we hope to see in the coming announcement. I am not I'm not too confident they're going to do many block announcements like this one. In fact, I'd be surprised if they ever announced more than maybe one or two characters at a time. They have a long time to announce who's going to be what. Well, not a long time if it's once a month. So it might all be block announcements. Could be, I guess.
I don't know. They don't actually have that many characters that people really want to know. So
yeah,
they did one a month for, a couple months, and then did like two a month for a few more. They could get
because we still got Tam. We still got Tam, Tom, Lan, Padden Fane, Morgaze, Elaine, Galwin, Galad,
Leanne,
Suwan, Leanne. Already said Morgaze.
Yeah.
Agomar. I doubt they're going to talk about. I doubt they're going to release.
I would think after we get the secondary batch of like Lan and Tom and
so we get to see
the secondary characters
they're going to have play
bad to it. They'll probably start stymieing out a little bit. They'll probably try to keep more to the vest and not let us see like Elena, or like characters are not really important until
What are
much
the
later in the
characters? I know I'm
story.
missing some.
So they
I mean,
might.
of course, there'll be like the Emon Fielders, with a Bran Alvear in his gut.
Yeah, but I doubt that they're actually going to make those as like Twitter announcements. I think they're just
Yeah.
going to have those be in the show. Because
Yeah.
again,
Well, I'm just like
a
saying,
lot
like,
of
what
these really just come down to like, they are important. They are characters we're going to come to love, but they're not so central to the story. Like they've really announced all but like 3, maybe 4 characters that are so central to the story that you see over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Oh, and then of course there'll be
God, now I
Elida.
feel dumb. I do the same thing.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna go. I mean, not so much.
Yeah, we were getting yelled
I'm
at
not
by
so much
somebody
as
for
like
that.
thinking they're gonna Twitter announce her because it might give away that she's gonna be important later on, and they may not want that. But I am interested to see who winds up playing her.
Correct.
When we do see her, I mean, I guess that's what it is for some of them. Like Bran Alvear, I'm more interested to see who winds up playing him than thinking it's a Twitter announcement. I was just trying to think of characters that, which of course like most of them, but before Bran Alvear, I think all the other characters I listed before are somewhat likely to get it. Maybe it depends on how much they try to keep things quiet.
Yeah.
Because if they're trying to do everything from Moraine's point of view, the whole scene with Rand and Elaine and Galwyn and Galad and Morghese and Elida is gonna give, I think, stands an equal chance of giving away some stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, they can definitely get away with men because there's nothing to indicate who she becomes later on. And she's the woman that can see, fancy viewings and stuff. But then again, announcing it might be like the same thing as it would with Elida and Elaine and Galwyn and Galad. It might be like, hey, this actually character is going to be around for a while because they got their own announcement.
Wait, I forgot a character that I actually really want to know who plays.
Oh yeah, Bella?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Loial.
Oh yeah. How do we not say that?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Oh.
We were.
Somebody's like, you didn't say loyal.
Yeah.
Unsubscribe.
No, but
yeah,
I'm excited about him.
Yeah, I think it's going to kind of be a fine line between keeping the mystique of who's important, of who the dragon is, and keeping it, at least the viewers that aren't familiar with the series, or as familiar with the series, keeping it with Moraine's point of view for the first season.
Yes.
Because there's some characters that it's going to be very tricky to portray without giving it away.
Correct.
Because the whole, like I was talking about earlier, the whole scene with Rand and Elida, that I think would give it away to like 90% of the viewers. Like, okay, who's the one character that's had this really weird interaction? Mm-hmm. Now, if they don't know who the dragon is, they may not. But.
To be fair, there is also at that point a couple of really weird interactions with the other two. I mean, by the time that Rand has that run-in with Elida, Perrin has found out that he can talk to wolves, and Matt has a dagger he shouldn't have.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm certainly not saying that it's not more of a big deal, because I do actually agree that scene with Elida is pretty telling. But at the same time, it's not the only thing that's happened to the only one of them. Like, there has been some shit that has gone down with the other two.
Yeah. I mean, I could see Perrin stuff being equally as like, well, maybe he's going to be the really important guy because he can talk to wolves. But Matt having the weird dagger, I don't think would be as likely of a tell as what goes on with Perrin, and especially as what goes on with Rand. And of course, that's saying things a little biased, knowing what's going on and kind of being predisposed to looking at the things from the books we've already read and reread.
Well, and
And
it
what
also is assuming that you're hearing the things from Rand's perspective, because if you actually like just look at it on the surface, Matt is with Rand for all of the other weird stuff that happens. And so
Mhm.
you could assume that Matt is the one that is causing them.
Or they could
rather
avoid
than
the whole
Rand.
thing.
What?
They could avoid the whole thing. They could just have him climb over, fall in, go in, talk, and be introduced to the queen, and then have him leave. And we don't get to see that interaction. And we get it like we might get the interaction between Rand and his father as like a sort of flashback.
Yeah, I don't know if that one works as well as a
I don't.
flashback.
It definitely doesn't work as well as a flashback, but
But I mean, like, it's definitely possible. It is a choice that could be made.
and I'm not even saying like a flashback within the first season or anything. It could be something later on. You know, maybe it's a flashback that Elida has after Rand declares himself. Yeah, could you imagine that? Like after Rand declares himself, that we get a flashback from Elida's point of view.
Yeah.
She'd be like, "That's why he's going to wreak destruction upon the world in which they clash. Thus, the world shall turn to ash." Who knows what that's from?
Oh man, actually, you know what would be really interesting is if they did that whole scene from like more. I mean, like obviously, again, it's not really anybody's perspective necessarily because film doesn't really do like direct perspectives. But like if they did that from like Elaine or Gawain's perspective, and they just like see Elida come over and like say this weird shit to Rand, but they don't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you actually hear it later from Elida, that could actually be kind of cool.
Oh yeah, I could see that. That'd be pretty dope too.
Where she's just like whispering at him, and you're just like, "What is she saying?
Like, why is she talking to him,
bitch?" Like,
because the whole time you've got, you know, Galen and everybody else kind of threatening Rand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, this dirty commoner scaled the walls. He could have killed, you know, the daughter heir and Gawain,
who already wants to jump his bones, and then Gawain, who's like, "Yeah, this is the brother I never had," and Galad's like, "I'm gonna murder you. Get away from my sister."
Yeah. How the turns table later on,
right?
But I think that's about all we can say.
Indeed.
So
yeah, I think it's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah.
Now that the first round of casting has done, to see where they take the direction with like Tom and Lan and Tam and Elaine, and kind of see what path they might be trying to follow as far as filling in the remaining pieces. And as we kind of like learn more about them, see what kind of personality they bring. Because a lot of them, while the books are very descriptive personality wise, like we know Perrin, Matt, Naveen, we know a lot of them in and out. Some of them it's not so much, so I'd be kind of curious to see what kind of their own unique style they kind of bring to it.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool for people that haven't read the series to like the second season starts and they're like, "Oh, that character's back. Oh, that character's back. Oh, that character's back. They're still around. Okay, I didn't know they'd be important." And the rest of us are like, "Just you wait, boy. It's gonna get crazy around here."
Yeah.
I was just thinking the apple cart guy from the first book all the way up to the very end.
Oh,
like yeah, just that because there's so many characters that just kind of jump in and out. So it'll be kind of interesting because a lot of TV series, a lot of books, they kind of don't do it. They kind of go with a simple flow narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Wheel Time's always been kind of special where they kind of didn't do that. Every character, they just kind of jump in and out of the story as the story kind of you know moves forward. So it'll be kind of interesting how they do the casting and how they keep bringing the same people back to fill those spots, or kind of like Pink Fan because he kind of jumps in and out. It'd be kind of interesting how they handle that throughout the seasons.
But I think this is a good time to start bringing it to the close, not just because I have two doggos that are desperately looking at me wanting to go out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're like, it's time. You've been talking for 3 hours or so. Dad, let's go.
Indeed.
Sounds good to me.
So, David, thanks for being with us and coming in on this episode. Did not realize that, obviously no one could have foreseen the technical issues that we had, both the ones that y'all as the listeners will see as Josh having to drop out, and the ones that you didn't see for the hour and a half before we actually recorded the actual episode, where half the time at least one of us couldn't hear one of the other ones.
Yeah, it was super frustrating.
Zencaster was pretty angry, and it was especially angry at Daniel today.
Apparently.
Because Daniel was on the ball. He came in, got the room ready for us to record and sent out the links, and then nobody could join. Like, we would just put us in a room by ourselves, and I'm like, are we on punishment? Like, are we grounded?
We're all on timeout.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it took about 10 reloads in order to even be able to hear each other talking. But yeah, it was totally fine. No, I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I absolutely love chatting about the Wheel of Time. It's always been one of my absolute favorite book series. I've been heavily invested in it for like the last 20 years of my life, and I've been a big part of it. And yep, I've been a big part of the book tours that Brent Sanderson used to do when the original last 3 came out, and been a big part of the community. And I've always taken great pleasure in meeting other people who have joint experiences and the same love for the same story.
Awesome. Well, good to have you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
But for all of us here at the Black Tower podcast, I have been Daniel.
I've been Andrew.
And I have been David.
And thank you so
And
much.
Josh is here in spirit still.
Yes, indeed. And moist is still moist.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for listening. Again, as always, if you guys have any feedback for us, please check out our Podbean to get any of our links, as well as feel free to send us an email at blacktowerpodcast@gmail.com, or, on our Twitter at Tower Podcast. We'd love to hear from you guys to find out what you guys think, what you guys want from us, and any ideas that you guys have in the future, because we do this for ourselves, definitely, but at the end of the day, it's for you guys. So thank you so much for listening.
Well, thank you. And we will see you all next week.
Take care.
You too. Take care. Have a great week.
Bye.